Hello and welcome to She Thought She Could, So She Did podcast with your girl, Tabitha Tiny Tab James. Few disclaimers before we get started with the episode. Don't go back to school. Disclaimer number one, I'm a little under the weather, maybe not claiming it. So if I sound a little cloudy, just charge it to my head and not my heart. I deliver content, so I could not bring this episode. I could not bring this episode. So I am here. Disclaimer number two, if you did a bachelor's program that was pre-professional, meaning that it was setting you up for graduate school, then this program or this episode just isn't necessarily for you. But you can stay online and check it out. Maybe you can give advice to someone else. And disclaimer number three, if it is a profession requirement, for example, medical school, I'm not telling you not to go to medical school if you want to be a doctor. Then that's how you get to being a doctor. This is more so for the people who are on the fence, who don't really know, who are maybe going to take graduate school just because they cannot get into the role that they thought that they would get into. And sometimes people don't have that thought. But I'm not even going to go there. Just a flasher. I work with a lot of students, and sometimes I'm like, well, tell me where you thought you would be. And they don't have an answer. And I'm like, man, we've taken a whole 4 years here and we don't know where we want to be. This is going to be tough, but this isn't the end of the road. But I am definitely trying to help someone from making a huge mistake, or just helping them to make out their map so that they are able to continue on to professional school if that's what they desire, with a plan so that it can be of ultimate benefit to them. So MAP. I love acronyms, y'all. Like, sidebar, side note, all up in it. I love acronyms. And so MAP today: money, adaptability, and plan. So starting off, number one, money. Debt. Loans, or fellowships, scholarships, grants, free money, assistantships. So not going to just sit here and talk all about loans, because that's not the only option. Graduate school is looking like a very wide range of costs, from $30,000 to $120,000, depending on what you're studying, where you're studying, things like that. You can get a decent MBA for about $30,000 to $40,000. You can also get into Harvard or Stanford and get an MBA for like $125,000. So there's definitely a wide range of costs associated with professional school. Okay, so let's just say you're dead smack in the middle at $50,000. How are you going to pay for that? Is that going to be straight cut $50,000 in loans, and you got to get some extra to live on and do other things? Or are you going to do an assistantship or a fellowship or find scholarships? Yes. There are scholarships out there for graduate school students. You just have to get out there and look. There are millions, billions, and trillions of dollars out here for people to get education. I'm telling you, I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I've known. One, because I did the research, and two, little tiny tab fact, I went to graduate school for 80% off. So it is definitely possible. So are you going to be working? So this goes along with the money thing. Like, will there be money coming in? Will you be working part-time? Will you be working full-time? Will you be an employee of the university? Will you try to work full-time in your field or in some sort of professional job and do night classes or online classes? Like, what does all of that look like? Are you going to be relocating to go to grad school? So thinking about how much it's going to cost you and how much your new cost of living is, things like that. I'm from South Carolina, and I moved to South Florida for graduate school. And y'all, let me tell you, that cost of living kicked me in the face as soon as I started looking at apartments. I was like, oh, snap, this is much smaller and a lot more money. But wow. And another tiny tab tidbit. Yes, I went to school for 80% off, but in order to live in South Florida, I had to work 2 jobs and do some side hustling just to be able to afford to live there and still, upkeep my normal life and not, lose my mind. So it was definitely a serious matter, no pun intended. So thinking about going to programs in places like New York and Cali and Austin and places like that, you never know what your cost of living is going to look like in relation to where you are. Now, if you already are somewhere and you're just going to relocate somewhere with a lateral move, kind of, your cost of living is going to kind of stay the same. You just have to move there. Then your financial situation might look a little different. Number 2, adaptability. How are you going to adapt into the graduate school process? This is not an extension of undergrad. This is more research, more writing, more thinking, more in-depth knowledge that is going to help fine-tune you for the professional world. And let's just face it, if you have not stepped into that realm, no matter what discipline it is that you're doing graduate study, you don't have as much to bring to the table because there's a lot of practical knowledge and a lot of theory used that is based on what you're doing in that industry. And so if you have absolutely no idea what that is, it looks a little different. It definitely looks a little different. So how are you going to adapt to that? If you relocate, thinking about the fact that you're relocating to a new area, possibly a new job, a new school, new classes. So just consider that in your thought process. This is no way, like I said before, bashing higher ed. This is just letting you know the raw facts of what goes into making this decision. Okay, you've decided to do an online program. This is still serious. You have to carve out time in your schedule to get your work done. You still need to be talking with your peers, the people you're in classes with, making connections with your professors, and trying to make connections with people who are in the industry that you aspire to get into. It is 2018. You cannot just show up with a piece of paper. I don't care if it's a bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD, CHD, whatever. You cannot just show up or apply to jobs with these pieces of paper and say, hey, I went to school, hire me. It doesn't work like that. There has to be some experiential learning, some other things outside of just your degree that show that you are a qualified candidate and that you have invested in yourself holistically and you are going to be a good fit for that company, that business, that nonprofit, so forth and so on. Number 3, plan. If you're a faith-based person, let me just tell you, yes, God laughs at our plans, but he has to have a plan to laugh at before he starts laughing. We are here to write the vision and make it plain. So you have to have a plan. What is in it for you? Like, who is your person that you're looking up to, even if you don't even know that person? Who is someone in a role that you think that you would be in? What is this process going to do for you? What is your reasoning behind why you're going back to school? What is your why? And knowing your why will help you not only to prepare, but to endure, because it gets tough. And it would be easy to be like, never mind, I'm not going to finish this thing. Like, no. Don't do that. Once you get in it, finish it, make it worth your while, but know your plan. As you start the program or as you're starting to search for programs, look at what people who've completed those programs, what are they doing? What type of professions do they have? What industries are they in? What companies does your school have partnerships with, where a lot of the alums? You have to use that network to your ultimate benefit. Like, you have to really work hard beyond just doing your assignments, because you want this to work out for you. Because depending on how much you spent for the first degree, tacking on another $30, $40, $50, $60,000, I don't care if you're writing a check and paying for it out of your pocket. It's still a chunk of change that you are putting forth to continue your education, and you need to take that seriously. Take it seriously. So map money, adaptability, and plan. Think about how much it costs and how you can defray that cost. What type of assistantships, fellowships, scholarships, what kind of things are in your realm? Like, what can you get a hold to kind of get that cost down? And once you get that cost down, how are you going to make up that difference? Is it going to be a payment plan and you're paying? Do you just have the cha-ching to write the check, or will you be getting more loans? And as you look at more loans, professional loan interest rates are higher and all of that stuff. So make sure you're looking at it. That's the M recap. Adaptability. Think about how your life is going to change. Whether you relocate or not, just think about how your life is going to change. And even if I did not talk about this, even if you return to your undergraduate institution, you are not an undergrad. This is not an extension of undergrad. This is this is graduate school. This is your preparatory program to your next level. So you need to take it really serious and dive into not only the research, not only the coursework, but dive into figuring out what Mr. or Mrs. U is going to look like in a few years. Last one, that plan, make one. It might change. It might alter a little bit along the way, but having one is so critical, because I cannot count the amount of times I hear people or read statuses. I wasted my money. I'm paying all this debt and I'm not even working, anywhere to brag about, or why did I do this or why did I do that? There's so much information out there and there's so many resources that it is no longer okay to make excuses about why you're in debt or make excuses about why you haven't found gainful employment. Like, it's out there. It's just the fact that you have to put forth the energy and the grind to get where you want to be. And sometimes, people, we just slack, and then we're looking for who to blame. But this is one where you just got to look in the mirror. So use your support systems, talk to the people in your department, engage with your peers, because let's face it, you are all chasing dreams and goals. And so these people are going to be the managers, the rectors, the CEOs, the this, the that, the third. They are going to be in great positions. So you want to mingle and get to know them, and not just to have something or to say you know somebody, but that is what networking is. Your network is your net worth. And I cannot stress that enough, especially genuine networking. I think that might be a whole episode, but we'll see down the road. However, I hope and pray that this Don't Go Back to School episode has resonated with you. A red light has gone on for you to start mapping out your plan. Or this is something that you can tell to someone who you know is in that cusp of figuring out, do I go back? Do I not? What does this look like? How do these things work? Like, just trust the process, but make sure you're putting into the process. Like, don't just be out here saying, oh, I'm going to trust the process, I'm riding the wave, and then in a few years, I'm looking at your status saying that you wasted your time and money. Nope. Not having it, not going for it. So that is the episode, guys. Don't go back to school without a map. Go back to school. If that's what's going to enhance you and prepare you, go back to school. For some people, it's right after undergrad. Some people, it's a little break, 6 months, a year, 5 years. But make sure in that gap, you are enhancing yourself. You are working towards a better you. So that's it, guys. I'm going to give you a little information about myself and why I think I could talk about this, I guess. I got my business, a bachelor's in science and business, and then I transitioned. So I stayed in my area and I worked for about 8 months. I think it was like 8 to 10 months. And I got an awesome opportunity to go to grad school for, like I said, 80%. And then I found some extra funding. So it came up to be about 95% off. So I didn't spend anything, basically. I spent pennies on my master's degree. However, I had to relocate. So I moved to South Florida in January of 2014 to obtain this master's degree, and I stayed there until April 2015. So as you can see, if you do the math, it wasn't even a full 2 years. Like, I knocked that program out really quickly. While I was in the program, I did research on things that I knew I wanted to know. I was very intentional with who I was engaging with. I knew what my job search process was going to look like afterwards. I was just very intentional and very responsible in trying to make decisions that were going to be for the long run. Because let's face it, with the reality of my life, I knew I was going to be moving back to the South. So I just needed to kind of north from Florida, but back to the Carolinas. So I knew I needed to really structure my process and things towards getting all I can get and grinding. Did some amazing networking, did some amazing traveling and speaking engagements. I got to go to Memphis, Tennessee. I got to go to, where was ACPA that year? I got to go to Tampa. I got to go to one other city, and I can't quite think of where I was. But while I was in these cities, I was engaging with other professionals. I was networking. I was presenting. I was also networking with other graduate students, because just like I believe in networking up, I believe like networking across and having a strong support system of your peers. And those are people who've helped me get contracts since then, helped me along the way as my professional career has taken some bumps and turns and curves. And now I'm in the full-time life of entrepreneurship, because that was my desire. Did not know that I would jump full force into it so young. However, life happens and threw me in that loop. And I'm just so grateful for that process. Since I've been back in the Carolinas, I've done 24 postgraduate credits in business administration. So that is in pursuit of MBA. And it has also been at a discounted rate, also found ways to fund that. So you have to really look at what looks realistic for you. Because as I was looking at my map, I knew that I didn't have $30, $40, $50, $60,000 to just write someone a check. And I was not in a significant amount of debt from my first degree, but I did not want to increase that, because I didn't want $600 and $700 loan payments every month. I also did not want to have such an amount that I had to be paying it back for a very long time. So just looking at that portion of my map, looking at the adaptability portion of my map, I knew going 10 hours away from home was going to be rough. I didn't know all the challenges it would bring, but I'm grateful for the challenges it did bring in, the learning opportunities and all of those things. It was great to be in a space that was so unfamiliar than what I was used to. I was able to learn and grow and, in the meantime, have some awesome fun. Let's face it, it was 80 degrees in February. Oh man, why'd I leave that place? But anywho, had a plan, made it happen, and that degree was actually in educational leadership. So I studied the way that we adapt and the way that we grow and the way that the mind kind of develops during the student process and the different theoretical framework behind that. So I know for sure that there's a lot of times that people resort to graduate school just because they didn't get a job or because they did not know what the next step was going to be, when that might not be the best deal. I also know that there's so many support offices on campuses that go underutilized. Use them. You're paying for them. They're there for you, and they're there to make you a better person. Furthermore, people don't look at the end enough. And I'm saying, don't get so caught up on your future that you're like hating your now, but think about where you want to be and where you want to see yourself and how you can connect with individuals who have trotted a path similar to yours so that they can help you along the way. It's not going to make your process any easier. It's not going to make you have to or be able to skip steps that are meant for you. However, you can get a leg up and you can get a heads up, and that's just so important. So there you have it. That's it. So more information about Tiny Tab, you already know, www.tabitha.com/about me. Go ahead, read some stuff, watch some videos. Make sure you are screenshotting, subscribing, leaving reviews, and telling your friends about this podcast. We have another episode coming to you real soon. If you are listening in real time, that means in about 3 days, because it's going to be on Monday. If you are not, then it's going to be the next time you refresh this podcast. But have a good one. check out my website, add me on social media, and let's just be friends. Don't go back to school without your map. Have a good one.